Neil, first of all, bring us up to speed on exactly what happened with Bolton.
We played Hamilton in the opening game of the season. We gave the players a couple of days off after. It had been a heavy week that week. And we made it clear to the players that they weren't to leave Glasgow. Unbeknownst to us, until yesterday, Bolingoli took a flight to Spain on the Monday and then flew back in on the Tuesday. The one day in Spain, there's no logic in that. And then decided to keep it to himself, didn't tell anybody, trained all week, put everybody at risk in this bubble that we've created here. And then obviously was part of the squad, played on Sunday, put everybody at risk, the Kilmarnock players as well, Kilmarnock staff. And then obviously the story broke yesterday and then he came clean and we were absolutely livid, appalled. The club have been at the forefront of maintaining good practice, the protocols all in place, trying to get the game up and running, and we have been bitterly and sorely let down by the selfish actions of one individual.
He has tested negative.
Yes.
But what was when you spoke to him, what was his rationale for what he did?
He didn't have one, and to be honest with you, I didn't want to really hear it because we made it in no uncertain terms that no one could travel, certainly not leave the country anyway, and he has blatantly disregarded my instructions, my medical team's instructions, the club's instructions, and put everything in jeopardy.
Nicola Sturgeon has said that we shouldn't expect to see Celtic or Aberdeen play football in the next week, so you now have a player who's led you to have a fixture backlog as well as everything else.
That's correct. I couldn't disagree with anything that the First Minister said today. In terms of, club responsibility, we've apologised to, all the other clubs in the division and, the footballing support as a whole. But we can't always watch the players 24/7. And like I said, we have been under strict protocols during this restart and been at the forefront. The club couldn't do any more. My medical advisor in there is absolutely devastated by what's happened because of the huge amount of work that he's done over the last 4 or 5 months. So we've been bitterly let down by the actions, and we're suffering the consequences of one individual.
Is this a sacking offence, mate?
Well, that'll be, a club decision, and we will deal with, the disciplinary action in the strongest possible terms.
Is the Champions League qualifier in jeopardy?
Not as far as we know. We're assuming, well, at the minute we're under the impression that the game will go ahead.
What's the rest of the squad? What's the feeling from them?
Anger. The disappointment, frustration. We're looking to get a bit of momentum going and get this. They've waited a long time to play competitive football, and it's just not good enough. It's just simply not good enough. So not only has he let himself down, but he let the club down, and it's been totally disruptive to our preparations now.
Neil, just to clarify, you said he had no rationale for going away. Has he given you any explanation as to why he went away? Because there's a suggestion he went to meet representatives of another club.
I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of that. So if he has, then he's even in more trouble. But you would like to think that whoever the club is would come forward and make themselves known so we can, track and trace where he's been.
As far as you're concerned, would he play for your team again?
That's a question that I don't want to answer at this particular moment in time.
If indeed it's confirmed that tomorrow's game is off and that the game against Aberdeen at the weekend is off, are those the right decisions given the circumstances?
It's going way above my pay grade. A decision like this is it'll come from the health minister, the sports minister, and obviously the government, and whatever action is is taken, you know, we'll hold our hands up, accept it, and you know, look to be better as we go along. But like I said, as far as I'm concerned, you know, the club have been exemplary in the way they handle things around the training ground, around the stadium, and the amount of testing that we've done. Thankfully, everyone is negative, so we couldn't have done any more as a club to, you know, maintain the standards that have been set. This is a rogue who has like basically gone off tangent and decided to do something very, very selfish.
Sorry, were you aware of this before you were part of that conference call with Jason Leach yesterday evening?
Yes.
So presumably you would have sat there feeling pretty angry even when you were listening to Dr. Leach.
Yes.
Because you knew that this might break out.
Well, we knew it was going to break out, like, you know, and we'd already spoken to the player. So yeah, we were aware of the situation, but we weren't aware of it until yesterday. So we've been completely oblivious to everything, you know. So not only have we trained all week, we've travelled to a hotel, spent the night in a hotel, albeit we're isolated from the rest of the public, and then obviously travelled and played the game. And the player has contributed 10 minutes in the game on Sunday afternoon. So I am perplexed, but I'm livid. Absolutely livid. It's a total betrayal of trust.
Neil, is it a double deception on his part?
Yes, no question. One for going, and two for not reporting that he went.
Was he rumbled by someone that alerted you to this?
You know, we got wind of it sort of lunchtime yesterday, and then obviously it grew arms and legs, and you know, we questioned the player on it, and in the end, eventually he came round to admitting to it.
So was that, Neil, maybe when the newspaper itself maybe contacted you, you knew nothing at all until yesterday lunchtime, you're saying?
Yeah.
So would you accept maybe that you had a player who was ineligible to play against Kilmarnock? Has there been any discussion of
What do you mean, ineligible in what way?
If he'd been to Spain and should have been quarantining, he wouldn't have been able to play against Kilmarnock
Right?
at the weekend? Have those discussions been had at all?
No.
Are you worried?
No.
Is there also, Neil, we're talking about football aspect here, but there's also a human aspect.
100%.
Is that your family, your kids, everyone else's family, that must hurt another side to it as well. The fact that who knows what player has family circumstances or families who are shielding.
100%, Ronnie.
There's another.
100. We put all that at risk. I never opened his mouth, never told a soul. Seemingly, you know, the players, to be fair, seemed to not know anything about it either, and I've got to take their word for it. But you know, the actions of the individual are just baffling.
Knowing this dressing room as you know them, can he be welcomed back? Can he be
Oh, come on.
put back into that?
Put it like this way, it would be very, very difficult, I think. Very difficult.
And he's not here at the moment, Neil, is that right? He's away from the club.
He's quarantining.
And is that the same? Are you able to, in terms of training, are you able to do anything? Are you able to contact train? What are the wider implications just within the club?
Well, I'm assuming we're allowed to train as normal. Everyone's negative, you know, and everyone else is following the health and safety protocols to the T.
Just changing tack, Neil, slightly. You said at the weekend that you felt the issue around Lee Griffiths was a minor one as well. Has that been dealt with?
Yes.
Right. Has he been reminded of his responsibilities then?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll be back in this week.
Is he guilty of anything, Neil?
I don't think so. So he's just under investigation, or we're having a look at it, and I think everything's as I thought it would be. Everything's okay. So he's due back in this week.
The First Minister has essentially said that it's a final warning.
Yeah.
Scottish football.
Yeah.
And that's a fair point, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. I mean, look, this happened, you know, probably around the same time as the Aberdeen thing happened. It's only come out because the story came out. We'd have been completely oblivious to it if, you know, when the player was going to tell us, he might never have told us. So the story is broken yesterday. But when I did the press on Friday, you know, when we were talking about the Aberdeen players, I was completely, the Bolingoli thing had already happened, but we were completely unaware of it.
She says that it's a
Yellow card, yeah.
and it could be a red card. Are you worried now that, apart from obviously the implications financially to Celtic are still there for everyone, but I mentioned this morning that I think the whole of football, if she was to pause it, not only clubs, but everything connected with football and the outer business could be affected by this.
It'd be catastrophic, I think. You know, we've had a major blow to the game already with the lockdown, and you know, obviously the other leagues haven't even started yet. For it to go again and stop altogether, I don't know what the recovery process would be in that, and how long it would be.
Does he understand what he could potentially have done by pausing Scottish football?
I'm not sure he's aware of it, you know what I mean? But I think, you know, after the last the last 24 hours, I think he'll be aware of it now.
As you said, you cannot monitor your players.
I can't.
24/7. No manager, no club can. Do you think footballers as a whole can be trusted to act accordingly, given they've been given all this special responsibility by the government?
I think it's unfair to tar every footballer with the same brush. There's no question. I've got, you know, tremendous professionals, you know, who live their life the right way. You know, there always is one or two that are different or got a bit of a rascal in them. This isn't anything to do with being a rascal or a bit of devilment. This is blatantly, you know, the wrong thing, you know, and I wouldn't say malicious, I think that's the wrong word, but irresponsible and premeditated.
You said the decision is above your pay grade, but do you think...
In terms of football, you know, these games being cancelled, yeah.
Will you be involved in the process, which I presume is pending on his future with the chief executive and the chairman? When is that? Has that been called yet?
No, I mean he's quarantining until next week, so he'll not be back in the building till maybe next Wednesday or Thursday.
As you can imagine, the fan anger towards them is pretty huge at the moment. What's your message to them in terms of what comes next for Bolingoli? If you know the fans saying that
I haven't made that decision. That decision's not been made yet, Ronnie. So you know I don't want to premeditate anything. But like I said, you know, internally we'll deal with it in the strongest possible disciplinarian way. Whatever that outcome is, you know, I don't know, and it's not for me to say. It's a club decision.
Does that now alter your process of trying to get another player in, potentially?
Another player in where?
You know, looking at it, you said to us over the last week or so, you're looking at possibly bringing in 3 players. Could this add to that? You're now looking at possibly bringing in 4?
No.
Neil, the First Minister, I think, said that she thought about the whole issue and could have paused or put football back into lockdown. She hasn't done. Are you relieved and would you be grateful that she hadn't? Would you have blamed her if she did?
I'm absolutely relieved, yeah. I'm glad that, you know, football is continuing. Unfortunately for us and Aberdeen, that we have to miss out on the next 2 games. And it's been, well, we'll not get any sympathy, totally disruptive to our preparations, obviously, for the game tomorrow and the game at the weekend, and then obviously the Champions League game as well. That's by the by. We'll hold our hands up, you know, as a club as a whole, and say we're sorry, and it, you know, won't happen again. And we look to use this as a motivation for ourselves going forward.
And do you sense that as a fair punishment that Celtic and Aberdeen have been punished, won't be able to play these matches, the other clubs to the best?
Yes, I think that's fair. Yes.
we talk about the footballing aspect in terms of transfers and whatnot. There was reports maybe Yeti was in Glasgow finalising a move.
Yeti was in Glasgow?
Apparently so.
I don't know. The Ballon Snowman might have been. Did you say Yeti or a Jetty?
Yeti.
No, I'm only joking. No, he wasn't in Glasgow yesterday. No.
But is that maybe creeping closer to?
I don't know yet. You know, again, like you know, you always ask me these questions, but I can't preempt anything. You know that we've been in talks with his representatives, and talks are ongoing.
With Fletcher as well?
No.
Gone?
I wouldn't say gone, but not at the minute.
Is there a more of a need now to try and accelerate the process of getting a centre half as well, because of the fact that you like to switch between a 4-3-3 4-4-2 call.
Listen, the premise hasn't changed. You know, we still want to get a centre half in. You know, Simjonovic, you know, gone. We need someone in to, you know, fill in that slot. So that's been ongoing for weeks.
Does it bother you that you might be playing catch up again here?
No, well, look, it doesn't bother me. You know, I've got my head around it already. We just have to get on with it and accept that these are the circumstances that we find ourselves in. Whether people want to blame the club as a whole or blame the individual, that's where we find ourselves in. We accept it and we'll prepare as best we can for the upcoming games. We can only apologise to our supporters. You're going to miss out on seeing us play over the next week or so, but we'll be more determined than ever when we come back.
Is there any indication as to when these games can be played?
No. I mean, we've only got the shout an hour ago, so I mean, you're asking me questions here that I can't answer. You know, when we'll have to find dates and fill them in when we can.
As far as you're concerned, your next game is
Reykjavik.
next week.
Yes.
And then the following week, the Champions League. Should you get through that?
Well, we've got Reykjavik and then we've got Dundee United and then hopefully another Champions League game after that.
Do you have a sense of how this is going to affect you or the club, or is it just a case of dealing with it head on?
Do I have a sense of
How this is going to affect you, the group of players, the club, the image of the club?
I'm worried about, you know, the for the short term, the image that portray of the club, and it's a wrong one. You know, it's like we're going to get criticism, but like I said, and I'm saying this, you know, honestly, the club have done everything in their power, you know, to get the game going. It's been at the forefront of everything in terms of dealing with the government, you know, setting good practices in, you know, safety protocols, health protocols, stadium safety, everything, looking at getting, you know, supporters back into the stadium, getting the game up and running again. They have done everything. The testing has been constant, logging in every day on the health app, that's been constant, letting us know where you are, and we've been let down by a player who's blatantly disregarded the rules. For whatever reason is beyond me, I have no idea. So, short-term hit, and then we'll come back hopefully better than ever.